One thing you'll get is when they say, you know, heaps of people or this or big numbers, like what's a rough number? I'll always ask that. I'll always deep down and go, what does that mean though? Because you know how you could say, oh, there was tons, and then you actually figure it out. It's like, oh, there was 6. Gives more context to what we're talking about. I had someone go, oh, I said, well, what's your conversion rate for sales? And they go, about 80%. I said, let's count up your last 10 sales meetings. How many did you convert? Oh, 2. It's like the black, the white, get rid of the grey, especially when we're talking numbers, because that ultimately, you know, that can drastically change, you know, where time, energy, focus is spent. Yeah, what we would do is, because we wouldn't use tracking pixels that are already set up from someone else, because we don't know if they're set up properly. So what we would do is we would set up brand new tracking pixels for each conversion, for each audience, for each page, etc., where they're being sent to. We can create audiences based off people who have engaged with certain parts of your page over a certain period of time, with people who have engaged with certain pieces of content, people who have watched videos, and we would go and create audiences based off people who have watched certain percentages of videos, ones that have converted well, etc. We won't use tracking pixels that other people have created, because we don't want to put our work or our stats based on that. I know, and I've seen many people set up and use tracking pixels wrong, and you might see it. Maybe sometimes your data doesn't seem to line up properly, and that's because most people use the basic pixel setup, which is the lead, the purchase, those ones there. We won't be using default pixels though. We use advanced tracking pixels, advanced tracking conversion, event tracking pixels. So there's a number of things around the pixel stuff which, you know, and you don't just use the basic lead or the basic completed registration pixel. We would still go and create it from scratch ourselves to ensure that it is set up correctly. Thanks. It just shows the level of professionalism that we're bringing to it. You know, like we'd be neglectful to go and, oh yeah, you've already got it set up. But again, it's that taking for granted what you think's already there. I know I don't want my results to be pushed up against potential setups that haven't been done right. And what it does is it allows you to follow through your process anyway. You know, like you don't want to log into someone's account and go, oh, it's already set up, let's skip that and go to here, because it's probably not done properly. Emily and I took both of our cars in just to get services. Mine needed new brakes, new brake pads. Emily's was sort of getting a little bit low. So we're like, yeah, let's change the brakes at the same time. We drove away from the mechanics. Both brakes were squeaking. When I say squeaking, like when I slow down or pull up to a stop, wherever, the brakes were squeaking. So I took them back. I said, oh, look, these brakes are squeaking. And they're like, oh, let's see, put it back on the hoist, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. Yep, it's all working now. I drive it home. Seemed okay. Drove to work the next day. Squeaking. I've literally taken my car back, I think 4 times now. I had to go to the head department. It's taken 6 months, backwards and forwards. Not just one car, 2 cars. Which is interesting because there's a massive lesson in it. I'm the consumer. I'm going to, if I'm going to spend thousands of dollars on my brakes and I'm taking them to someone who's a specialist at something, and then I leave that place and the brakes are squeaking just the way they were, then that to me shows that's a service that hasn't been completed, right? I'm the consumer. I don't know how to fix brakes. But then to have the people who own the shop say, well, the brakes work. We don't know about the squeak because it's the manufacturer's issue, and trying to put it back on that it's not their fault. I'm like, well, if you go and buy a computer from Harvey Norman, you're not going to go take it back to the Dell store, right? You're going to go back to Harvey Norman and say this doesn't work, and then they'll go and deal with the manufacturer. It's gotten to the point where I've asked for the manufacturer's phone number to give them a call, because I'm like, these brakes shouldn't be squeaking. It's ridiculous. Emily's just reached, or yesterday she hit 500,000 fans, so we're doing something, a bit of a special and giveaway to the community. So just getting that process underway so we can get that executed today. Interesting, a good learning point around that is, when do you run sales or when do you run giveaways, and a whole heap of, the question is, you see some businesses, they feel like they're running a closing down sale every week, but it's important to have and use certain milestones as opportunities for you to be able to, do a big push for product sales or purchases or enrollments or whatever it is. Every 100,000 we do one, but 500,000's a big one, so we'll make a bit more of a deal about this. Don't have a sale for your first fan, even though that's just as good, but
I think that sales devalue the brand of the product at all?
It depends on the product, depends on the service, depends on the deliverable, depends how you position it. So there's so many variables that really come into play. You gotta ask yourself, why are you doing it? So there's a couple of ways. It's not just discounting your product or your service. What we're doing is we're actually adding extra value to what you would normally purchase, which is another way to position sales. And when I say sales, it doesn't mean it has to be a massive discount. Like I said, is there other ways you can stack things on top of what you've already got to make it even more valuable? Let's say you got a product that's $100, and let's say you don't want to reduce the price. You need to add something to it so you can let your community know that you're doing something special, versus just, hey, you should pick up my program that I'm already still selling every single day for this price. People need to see the value, perceived value. So it's not always about discounting your price or cutting your price in half, or even though 50% off sales are pretty enticing to a lot of people. You hear the argument all the time. People are like, oh, when do you, don't discount your price. You're just, devaluing your product. Depends what it is. I'm not going to have a 50% off sale on my inner circle. It's a totally different conversation, versus a, $50 online program. One thing you'll get is whenever anyone speaks in, when they say, heaps of people or this or big numbers, like what's a rough number? I'll always ask that. I'll always deep down and go, what does that mean though? Because how you could say, oh, there was tons, and then you actually figure it out. It's like, oh, there was 6. Gives more context to what we're talking about.
Good, because tons is.
Yeah, so when I had someone go, oh, I said, well, what's your conversion rate for sales? And they go, about 80%. I said, let's count up your last 10 sales meetings. How many did you convert?
Yeah.
Oh, 2. So it's like the black, the white, get rid of the grey, especially when we're talking numbers, because that ultimately, that can drastically change, where time, energy, focus is spent. So, okay, cool. It's that same topic of black and white. We've talked about it in a couple of episodes prior. I think the grey area is not speaking in generalised terms. So when someone goes, oh, yeah, a few people did this, or a heap of people said this, it's like, well, how many is a heap of people? Stop generalising. Especially in business, you need black and white. You need the true numbers. Like, I can't have you coming to me going, oh yeah, I sent a message to heaps of people and most of them said they didn't want to. It's like, hold on a minute. Number one, what is heaps of people? Number two, what's most mean? Because everyone's got different terminologies on what those things mean. So, especially from a communication perspective, if you're talking to someone, whether it's in a sales meeting or if you hear anyone talking to you in those generalized terms, what it basically says is they don't know their numbers and they don't know what they're talking about. That's what I, as a generalization of that, which is sort of inception inside inception. But it's just getting clear when you're communicating, and if you're using and that's why I always ask what does a few mean? Like, don't ever expect someone knows what a few actually means. Is it 2, 3, 5, 7? I mean, I've heard all those different answers from different people. So if someone goes, oh yeah, a few people said this, in your mind, if you believe that it's 3, you're going to think 3 people said it. But in essence, it might be 2, it might be 5, it might be 7. Again, who knows? Just be clear when you're talking. That's what I'm really trying to say here. I hope you liked today's vlog. Please be sure to like, subscribe, share, tap the like button, the love button, subscribe button, any button that you see around this video, I'm sure you could tap it. Also, please be sure to leave a comment below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.